where you can learn about issues that impact us every day. State of world, oh, one life.
Real people, real talk.
Made to help people in our community in every way. Boy, your girl, oh, one life.
Everyone has a story. Your experiences, events, people shape my life, my story, shape your life. I have an incredible story to tell you about. Just think about this. Imagine that you get married early, very young. You have stay-at-home mom. The father is the breadwinner. Now imagine that the breadwinner dies and you have no job. I'm Beverly Taylor, and this is the 411 Live. Real people, real talk. The scenario that I was mentioning is real. And my special Bridgett Wilder joins me now. Bridgett, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited to share my journey. And before I even start talking, the purpose of my desire of sharing this journey is I really want people to see that I am. And sometimes people can get stuck in life. And I just want to encourage people that there are methods to come out of a slump.
Absolutely. Synopsis, just to whet people's appetite. And I use the word appetite for a special reason, and we'll explain that as we go on. But you know, the best part of your story is that you are using your experiences to help others, to help people through some really tough things, and through mind, body, and soul, which I really like. And you have threaded the connection really, really well. So let's just kind of get into this backstory, because it's, like I said, it's just at 20?
Yes. And mind you, my story actually began when I was 15 years old. I was raped and one of the biggest components of my story is the insecurity that led to. And my insecurity caused me to make poor choices without thinking, without even knowing what I wanted out of life. So that ended up facilitating looking for comfort. I was looking for consistency. And I thought I can find it in a relationship, but I was still broken. And I didn't realize how massive the rape had impacted my life. So that's the beginning part. So when I thought that me getting married, and I came from a wonderful family, we had small issues. It wasn't in relation to my parents doing me wrong. It's just that I was raped. And I was raped one time too many by a family.
Right now, I'm just kind of taken aback because that's part of your story that I didn't know.
Yes.
And so it builds into, now I'm going, wow.
Yes. And it's crazy. I can segue into talking about marrying young. I met my husband at church. Mm-hmm. I was seeking God at the time at 18, but I got distracted by someone desiring me. So my focus became more on that versus that godly relationship that I was looking for. So in my distraction, I got caught up in, I didn't know that I was going to end up having 10 children. I didn't know that. But I had a skewed relationship with God in that I was just thinking that if I took the makeup off, if I wore only dresses, if I had the fruitful and multiply mentality, then I was winning over what God wanted from me. But all God really wanted was me and my brokenness, and he wanted brokenness about a spiritual element. But that is a shared component of my story.
Right. And it's an important part of it.
Yes.
So you get married, right?
Yes.
I mean, at 20, like.
At 20. I had just turned 20 November 22nd, and we got married December 4th, and with my first child. So I didn't even have time to breathe.
Yeah.
I said in an interview that by the time I was 26, 30, I had 7 kids. And what ended up happening is I was still an insecure 15-year-old that had been raped, trapped in the body of what now is a mother and a wife. Now, in that journey, my husband got sick in his 20s. He was about 27 years old when he was diagnosed with congestive heart failure at the age of 6.
Oh, my goodness.
So we didn't know early on that my husband was sick. He was still functioning and working hard. So my focus was really on my daughter and her sickness, and she was having seizures. And then she died on me.
That's Beatrice, right?
Beatrice, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I remember you telling me that you would go to the hospital and you'd go to his room and then go to her room.
Yes. It was around 2003. I never will forget. My husband was in Freighter Hospital and my child was in Children's Hospital, and it was Christmas time. My other children were with me, and I was going back and forth from Children's Hospital to Freighter, checking on both of them, all while having a weight problem. You know, I was overweight, and we're going to talk about that journey too.
Right.
This was a mess, but I didn't know that those storms was building character and substance in me. And it was allowing me to see, and I didn't know at the time, that I had so much, I saw myself as that weak, needy person, which is also infiltrated in my marriage because I was so dependent on my husband for everything, which is one of the reasons why I also married. I had a dependency problem. I sought validation from people on everything that I'd done. Mm-hmm. And that came from a place of insecurity. That kind of, for lack of a better word, he stagnated my growth, but he didn't realize it. He was just being a good guy.
Right.
He didn't, a wife and mother, but I still was a woman with all of that.
Right. So go ahead. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Well, I was just moving it forward a little bit. Beatrice dies in what, 2006?
Yes.
Okay.
And yes, she died in 2006.
3 years later?
Yes, in 2009.
Okay.
And I didn't know, Beverly, that my daughter's death was what would change everything else in my life. And when my husband died in 2009, and the doctors had done everything to try to retrieve him because they saw me and all these kids and me in a place of just shot supposed to do. I don't even have a job. And he didn't finish the house. And everything around me was a mess. And one of my kids asked me, and I didn't know. All I knew was, oh my God, I only know to trust God. That's all I know. But I didn't even know what that meant.
Right. So he dies grieving and panicking.
Yes. Grieving and panicking. That's an awesome way to put it. I was doing both. I was forced. I describe it as being forced out of a cannon because my life changed to the point where I had to keep moving, even when I didn't know how to do it. So what ended up happening was I've always had a passion for nutrition. And so my first step was I got me a job and I worked as a receptionist and did that for a while. And then I decided I wanted to go back to school. Thank you. And when I went back to Mount Mary, I went to Mount Mary University, older student, only African-American in the dietetics program, overweight, challenging myself to push forward. And I didn't have the support that I needed. Mount Mary University supported me, but I had some issues in the dietetic program because of this older student, African-American. For whatever reason, some of the students just didn't jam with that. And plus I had 9 kids. Who wanted to work with that person? I should have focused. I'm not saying that that's what they thought, but that's what it felt like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in that plight of going back to school, being the class speaker, and I started a business towards the end of my journey at school. So now I have arrived to a place is coaching. And I use the issues in relation to my life to help people navigate some of the experiences that I had. So now, go ahead.
Well, I'm thinking about, you got a job as a receptionist, but you still have 9 kids. Mm-hmm. Did you lose the house or what was that like?
I did. I lost the house. But I will say this, at the beginning of that journey, my church left me with. And they restructured it, but I couldn't keep up with the payments, lost the house, things just got out of control. And me and my husband, me and my children ended up being homeless. Wow. While I was still in school. Some of them were away at college, so that gave me some flexibility with some of them. But at the end of the day, I navigated going to school, working, being homeless. And that was the first time I made the dean's list.
while you were homeless.
Yes. And then I had an aha moment, Beverly. And that aha moments, when I reached a level where I made the dean's list, I said, wow, there's more to me than I realized. So I had to pull from the inner part of me to keep pressing through the navigating, raising 9 children. And in the beginning of my process, I worked a split shift. I worked in the morning, back to work, and still managed to take care of my children.
Yeah. Wow. So let's talk about this major that tell me again about the degree, the choice that you made.
Yes. So my degree is a science degree with the emphasis on dietetics. And I also have a minor degree in psychology. So I infused the two in my program to navigate all of these things. And I infiltrated the psychology component because I had an unhealthy relationship with food. I was an imbalanced emotional eater. I ate my fears. I ate my doubts. I ate my low self-esteem. I ate what I thought was a mess of my life. And as I went through my own journey, because I was my first client, I learned so much about that place that I realized while I was in school that it got to be other people dealing with that.
Amen.
And in my practice, I find that is very true.
Yeah.
And I do those spaces, I find the same thing.
You know, I'm just thinking about it because I had a weight problem and high stress eating. Your parents got a divorce, emotional eating. I wasn't hungry, but I was just eating, just going at it, driving me.
Oh, wow. Yes. And when I teach about it, I talk about the difference between physical hunger and emotional hunger. Eating state, we tend to eat, I'm just going to throw just a little bit of nutrition in
Okay.
there. We tend to eat salty and sweet foods, comfort foods.
Yes.
Right now, during the crisis of COVID-19, they're in a place of a lot of unknown variables and don't even realize they're emotionally eating. And one thing about food, oftentimes it's accessible. It's comforting when nothing else is there.
Mm-hmm.
So food is not just food, but we need to understand how it impacts our life.
Okay, let's talk about the fact that you're a woman who knows what you're talking about. Be 300 pounds?
Yes, I lost 170 pounds and I stand in that right now. I tell people when I joke about it, I used to wear a size 26. Now my waist is a 26.
Oh, man.
And I worked for that. I worked through blood, sweat, and tears. I'm able to, at 48 years old now, I'm able to run 10 miles. That is this. When a person see that in me, knowing that I've had that many children, if I can take charge of living my best life, and it's not just about food, it's just about recapturing who you were predestined to be.
Yes.
And if we don't deal with the core of us, we can never reach the best of us.
I like that. Okay. Keep going.
It's an inside job.
Mm-hmm.
My perception of who I am now, it influences what comes my way, whether negative or positive. And because I was on the insecurity end in my life, I know what that brought me. That brought me pain. That brought me dependency issues. That brought me feeling like I can't thrive. For a brand new lens, all I see is wins, even when there's losses. I see my losses as something that leverages me. It gives me the push that I need. When I can do it, when I'm homeless and I made the dean's list, what drove that out of me? That pain introduced me to the purpose of me.
Yeah, and you also think, if I did that, I can serve it. Bridgett, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about that whole mind, body, soul dynamic and triggers as well.
COVID-19 has changed how we spend weekends with the girls. Now it's time to take the first step that lets us get back to brunching instead of late-night munching. Before we can safely come together, we need the facts. As COVID-19 vaccines become available, you may have questions.
Should I get it?
Is it safe? Should I wait?
It's okay to have questions. Now get the facts at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you.
Because the fight isn't over yet.
You will see me choose to protect my community by wearing a face cover.
And even with my face covered,
you will see me.
As a son.
As a man with a never quit attitude.
As a fighter for change.
Join me in wearing a face cover.
To help stop the spread of the coronavirus.
Because this is one small act of kindness
that has the power to make a big difference.
Welcome back to her. She is, she's a coach dealing with nutrition, body, mind, soul. She's written a book, right?
Yes. I wrote a book called Why Me? A Question I Refuse to Ask God. Mm-hmm. And that story, and it talks about the steps, the different layers that had to be unpeeled in my life for me to get. Sometimes we underestimate the value of the storm. And I call myself victory in motion.
I like that.
That is what I am. When it looks of my business perseverance, that means keep going against all odds. It's just a story of perseverance, and the goal is to inspire and up.
Perseverance, and I thought, man, that's the perfect title. That's good. That's very good. So, I was thinking, I know people who have gone through the painful journey of bariatric surgery, who have gone through, it was success. They lost lots of weight, looking good. They're feeling good. They're smiling the whole bit. And then a year, two, on.
Yes.
And you think, what happened? But when you think about the whole thing, there's the mind thing. And if you don't have the mind fixed, your journey or the things that you do for your body may be sabotaged.
That's an excellent way to put it. And what's so key about what you're saying is that shows you that it definitely is a psychological portion. Mm-hmm. In my weight loss journey, I had many times where I yo-yo diet. I would lose weight after a child, 60, 80 pounds, because I hadn't addressed the reasons for my eating. And in my program, before I even touch on nutrition, I have, as you mentioned previously, I talk about triggers, and I ask every client the same question. How bad do you want it? And I ask them why. And so that they can understand that it's a journey to enjoy, to get to it's not about, I got to lose 20 pounds by my birthday. No, I get to enjoy the process of self-improvement.
That's a good way to put it. Okay, keep going.
And whenever you're at a place where you can self-invest, that's valuable. I want my clients to love themselves at whatever weight changes that you make. You're just showing yourself that you're worth it. I teach a portion, that's because everybody's not always looking for weight loss.
Okay.
But when I say that, people think I'm going to tell them, take out all the salt, take out all the sugar, take out all the garbage. And yes, that's a component of that. But what I'm really asking them is, what is in your space that's sabotaging your growth? What are your triggers that you may not even realize you have? Do you have an improper way of implementing yourself in you, in your life? Or do you even know how to include you? And I ask those questions because I want them to see themselves so they can understand that this is going to be a lifelong process. Lose the weight, that's one thing. Lots of people lose weight. But if you haven't got to a place where you can keep it off, let's deal with that. Why am I always gaining the same 20 pounds back? What is going on? And let me say this. When we're dealing with eating habits, we can eat out of happiness as well as sadness. We use food when we're planning for a wedding. That's a joyful place. I mean, same concept applies when you're preparing for a funeral, stress. stressful eating. So there are lots of different triggers. People, that comfortability place where you found your boo and now it's like, oh, you don't put as much into yourself. So
that's right.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of variables.
I want to talk about this Valentine's Day thing because the Valentine's Day weekend, I had called you and you were at a hotel somewhere. You'd Valentine's Day weekend or, and you said, it's because I know my trigger.
Yes. So around Valentine's Day, I get very emotional. It's been 12 years passed away, and 12 years in November this year. And I have gotten to a place now where I miss having a partner. Valentine's Day keeps triggering that. So this year I decided I'm getting out of my house. I'm going to get the best clothes that I got in salsa dancing. I'm getting a hotel room by myself, although I'm going to meet up with friends. And I put a twist on Valentine's Day to just deal with me. I was telling you earlier, just because we are not in a relationship doesn't mean we are not an entity.
Mm-hmm.
We are enough, even if we were individualized. So that doesn't change. I don't know when I'm going to be in a relationship again, but I do know I'm still with me. I did a self-investment project where I dealt with the pain of it. I cried when I got to my room. I let myself have my moment, but I enjoyed it at the same time. So we have moments in life where life still happens. Now, let's say I was on a journey of weight loss with that going on. At one point in my life, I would have ate all of that, all of those feelings, all of that emotion. I would have had the boxes of chocolate. But because I have arrived to a place where I know my triggers, I have to restructure that. So instead of sitting in my room alone eating, I went salsa dancing. I dealt with my tears. I watched my favorite movies. I did those things.
Very good.
So that was how my Valentine's Day went. And boy, did I enjoy it.
Good for you. Good for you. Another thing that you kind of identifying kind of those, I don't know if it's, I don't know if you call this triggers, but focusing on everybody else except you. Now, we're taught to others, provide for others, but sometimes in doing that, we just totally neglect ourselves.
Oh, wow. Yes. And I can tell you from having so many children, it's like, if I don't have time for myself, I drown. I teach my children boundaries when I show them that I do self-care. So when they see me self-care, they self-care. Beverly, my older children had my old weight loss issues. Came in when the transition happened for me. But now, one of my children that had weight loss almost lost 100 pounds.
Wow.
And one of my daughters is at older children. That's because they watch me transition. We communicate. We talk about the things in our life that are triggers. They have emotional eating habits, but we deal with it. But if I had not set that example.
Really good point, because the people who come to you and your clients and you coach them through this, how the mind affects the body and how you got to get all sustainable goal. And as you're doing that, and of course they're learning about good foods, healthy foods to eat, packaging where it says that it's healthy, but it really isn't. So you need to stay away from it, all those things. But what they're learning, what they're doing, their example trickles down to the children. Like in your case, trickles down and the kid, because they're watching their example, their parent.
Yes. And also the other part about self-care is oftentimes we use this phrase, nails done, we go get our hair done. That's cool. But what about the stuff that I do within myself? That's true self-care. Like you look at my hands, normally I have my nails done. They're not done, but I made it to the gym. I did what's most important. So though my nails are not done today, and I hate that, it's like I'm going to talk to you in a way where, oh my God, I want to use my hands, but I can't. But I feel so good because I took the time to invest in what I ate for breakfast. I took the time to do self-care by taking care of my heart, not just the weight, but my total being. And one thing I didn't tell you was I was once diagnosed with diabetes. Transition, when I reached around a 65-pound weight loss, I changed the outcome of that, and I'm no longer classified as a diabetic.
Nice.
However, diabetes runs in my family. It's a genetic component. History of eating habits do we pass down? We talk about family history and who had diabetes, but how did that family eat?
Mm-hmm.
That's heart failure. His mother had issues with her heart, and he died at the age of 37. His dad died. But they ate soul food, cakes and pastries every Sunday. That was the result of history of eating behaviors that increase the risk to disease.
Right. Okay. Well, we've run out of time because we could sit here. If somebody listening, they want to get in touch with you, they're like, I need this coaching. How do they get in touch with you?
So you can reach.
I'm Beverly Taylor, and this is the 411 Live. Real people, real talk. If you would like to check out past episodes, there are many ways. Go to your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Like and watch us on Facebook. Watch and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have suggestions for future episodes, go to our website, the411live.org.